the most underrated national team in the world and the second best team currently in CONMEBOL. That is right. Today we are talking about La Tricolor, the Ecuadorian national team. And this is, just to start off with, I need to say this is one of my favourite, if not my favourite national team in the world, outside of the Czech Republic, who I do support, of course, even though it's not going very well right now, and we talked about that in a previous video. But today we're going to talk about, oh my god, I love this team so much, and they are so underrated, criminally slept on, and I don't know why. And that is what we're going to break down today. We are going to break down why I think these guys are the perfect dark horse for next year's World Cup. Now, if you have been watching since the last World Cup, I did a few videos back then of tipping these guys to do well there. It didn't quite work out. They finished third in the group. They were really, really close to making it out. I was supporting them the whole way. I was supporting them at that World Cup. They were my favourite national team there. And that could be the case at the next World Cup as well. I love this team so much. And I think that this time they will do so well at this next World Cup. Now, if you don't know, Ecuador have secured their place at the next World Cup with 2 draws in the last international break, 2 0-0 draws against Brazil and Peru. And they've now booked their place to go to the States, Canada and Mexico next summer for an enthralling tournament. It's going to be incredible. And I think these guys could do so well. Now, we need to start off with where this qualification campaign began. Now, after the 2022 World Cup, Ecuador brought in Felix Sanchez, the former Qatari manager, to replace Gustavo Alfaro. Now, that didn't go to plan. It wasn't great. Felix Sanchez struggled. The results weren't the best, and it ended all at the Copa America, where Ecuador got to the quarterfinals, didn't win their group, lost the group to Venezuela, and then lost to Argentina on penalties. And he was replaced with Sebastián Becasese, who in 9 games in charge has only lost 1, which was his first one, against Brazil away 1-0 to a Rodrigo goal. In these 9 games, Ecuador have conceded just 2 goals, that Rodrigo goal and a goal in the last minute against Venezuela when they were already 2-1 up. And since that Brazil game, they've been undefeated. They haven't lost a single game. They beat Bolivia 4-0 at home. They beat Colombia away in Barranquilla 1-0, down to 10 men as well. They beat Venezuela at home and draws with Brazil, Chile, Peru, Uruguay and Paraguay. So basically, they faced everyone but Argentina under Becasese, and they've dealt with most of them pretty much. Now, the crowning feature of this Ecuadorian team, and the reason why I think they are the second best in CONMEBOL and the most underrated in the world, it's the defense. They have conceded, this is over the whole qualification campaign, so with Sanchez and Becasese, they've conceded just 5 goals in 16 games, which is by far the best defense in CONMEBOL. The second best is Argentina, who have conceded 9, so 4 less than Argentina. And that defense is just so solid, right? They just do not concede goals in any games, really. You're very unlikely any team will score 2 goals against Ecuador. The most they will concede in a game is 1 goal, and actually they haven't conceded 2 goals in a game in this qualification campaign. And they currently sit second in the table, ahead of Brazil, Uruguay, Paraguay, and my favourite Colombian national team as well. So they've done really, really well there. And let's not forget, they started with a -3 point deduction due to the Byron Castillo case from the last World Cup. And they're fine. They've secured their place at the next World Cup. They've qualified. Now, Ecuador are a 2000s only team when it comes to the World Cup. Their first World Cup was in 2002. They got grouped. 2006, they made the round of 16. They lost to a David Beckham free kick. 2014 in the group stage again, and 2022 in the group stage again. So this will be their 5th tournament, and they've only made it out the group once. Never made it into the last 8. What is the aim for Ecuador at the next World Cup? Because I think that with the talent on this team, I mean, we haven't even talked about the squad yet. We've talked about all the records and stuff. We haven't talked about the actual players. Piero Hincapié, William Pacho, Moises Caicedo, Pervis Estupiñán, Angelo Preciado, Ener Valencia. I mean, this team is stacked. I mean, like I said, that defense, right? Currently, the back 4 that Becasese is going with is Estupiñán, Hincapié, Pacho, and Joel Ordóñez, another young talent at Club Brugge. I would personally, this is one thing that I think Becasese is getting wrong, I think the strength for this team is to play a back 5. Because I think you need to utilise Estupiñán further up the pitch. Get Angelo Preciado in, two of the most creative players, because we're going to get to the attack, which is a real problem for Ecuador. Two real creative players down the wing, and Ngapié also plays that in that back three system for Bayer Leverkusen, so that could suit him as well. Ordóñez kind of as that third centre back. We'll see if Becasese decides to go with that. So far, he's rolling out with the back four and is very solid defensively, but going forward, we're going to get to those attacking numbers and it's not great. And then in the midfield, I mean, Moises Caicedo, one of the best midfielders in the world, I feel like. In the Premier League this season, he might have even been the best midfielder in the league. Partnering him currently is Pedro Vite, another 23-year-old. I mean, the youth in this team, everybody's so young. Pacho, 23. Ngapié, 23. Estupiñán, 27. Caicedo, 23. Pedro Vite, 23. Ordóñez, 21. Nilson Angulo, who's getting the starts right now on the wing, 21. I mean, this team's incredible. Kendry Páez, okay? We haven't even talked about him. He's 18. Alan Minda, 22. I mean, this team's stacked with talent. Gonzalo Plata, 24. And the youth is incredible. The youth is incredible. So they're building. This is the gold. We thought the golden generation was starting at the last World Cup, but this is their time. They've matured a little bit. They've got experience from that last World Cup where they did very well. That game against the Netherlands, I was enjoying it so much, and they should have won that. Ecuador should have beaten the Netherlands. So going to the next World Cup with that extra bit of experience, Pacho is now a Champions League winner. What's that going to bring to the team? I mean, they're stacked with quality. But the problem is, there is one major issue with this Ecuadorian team, which is why they're not the best in CONMEBOL, basically, because the defense is the best. The attack, however, oh my goodness me, they have scored just 13 goals in 16 games in this qualification campaign. To put that into perspective, Argentina have scored 28, Brazil have scored 21, Uruguay, who has recently looked like they can't put the ball in the back of the net at all, they've scored 19. Paraguay have also scored 13, so same as Ecuador. Colombia have scored 19. Venezuela and Bolivia have also scored more goals than Ecuador. So only Chile and Peru have scored less goals than Ecuador in this qualification campaign. And that's a real issue. And it feels like when there's no Enner Valencia, there's nothing. And Enner Valencia didn't start either of the last two games. He wasn't fit enough. So Ecuador didn't score. It was 2 0-0 draws. And that is the issue with this team. And this is why I really hope they can figure it out for this next World Cup. Because these guys, going forward, it's not like they don't create. They create. And they put on a show. This is why I fell in love with this team. Because it's just that true definition of South America. So feisty. Just play with so much flair, pace, power, energy. Right? Just exciting players. Right? 1v1 dribblers. Speed merchants. It's just so fun to watch. A great fan base as well. They're really up for it. They're always so motivated. Just fighters. This team is a group of fighters. But they cannot put the ball in the back of the net. And if they can't do that at the World Cup, then it's going to be problems. And Enner Valencia, the man they're relying on, he's 36. He's going to be 37 by the time the next World Cup rolls around. Now, we were saying that at the last World Cup, and look what he did there. He scored 3 goals. And he did really, really well. He was fantastic. And he's still doing well. I mean, against Venezuela, he got both goals as Ecuador won 2-1, right? He scored against Colombia away in Barranquilla as well. And he scored at home against Bolivia when they won 4-0. So he's the guy. Basically, every single goal that Ecuador scored, he scored against Peru as well. So I've got a crazy stat for you guys. Every single goal that Ecuador have scored under Becasese, apart from 3 goals against Bolivia, they've all been Enner Valencia, and he scored. In every game that Ecuador scored, he has scored. He is the man for this team. Now, Gonzalo Plata has also been very, very good, and he was also out for the last 2 games, so maybe you can put it up to that Ecuador did not score. But they need to figure this out. They need to figure this out, because at the next World Cup, if Ecuador can put the ball in the back of the net, even at a rate like Colombia, right? If Ecuador have a similar attack to Colombia, I'm telling you, the ceiling for this team is a semi-final. These guys could make the semi-final. You could make an argument that Ecuador have the best defense out of any national team in the world. In the world, okay? They just don't concede goals, but they don't score them either. But they still play exciting football, which is why I just love watching this team. And honestly, Ecuadorian fans, in the comments, let me know. How do you think you guys will do at the next World Cup? And what is the expectation? Because I think with this team, the expectation should be so high. Because the talent is there. The expectation should be so high. Yet amongst casuals, amongst international fans, You never really hear Ecuador. You hear more about an underperforming Uruguay team that is in a complete mess right now under Marcelo Bielsa. You hear much more about them being, a contender to do something over Ecuador. Maybe that's because of history and they don't really have as much pedigree. They haven't really, like I said, round of 16 is the furthest they've ever got. But I think if you don't know too much about them, then you should start watching some Ecuador games. And I hope you've heard it from me now. These guys are going to be so good, and it's going to be so great to see them there. It's going to be so great to see Ecuador at the World Cup, and I will be supporting them so much. I'm buying an Ecuador shirt. I'll be watching every single game, and I'll be hoping they'll do great. And what I haven't even talked about much is 18-year-old Kendry Páez, wonder kid, star boy, technique, flair, just creative genius this guy is. Every single time I've watched him, I'm like, wow. Like, he is unbelievable. He's got his move to Chelsea this summer. He's probably going to go out on loan. He's going to do something. At the next World Cup, he'll have matured a little bit. He'll have played his first year in Europe, probably. And let's see how good he is. Let's see, because he could light up that World Cup. Just like Lamine Yamal lit up the Euros, Kendry Páez could do the same for Ecuador. And he could be that driving force in attack. Imagine if he is in that midfield, or if he plays out wide, or if he plays off the left, with Ener Valencia and Gonzalo Plata. My goodness me. Ecuador will be a problem, and I think they could figure this attack out, but the foundation is there. That defense is impeccable. And I think Becasese is the man. I really do. I think Felix Sanchez was not, and I think we saw that. But I've really been impressed with Becasese. The next international window, Ecuador will come up at home against Argentina. If Becasese gets a result there, that's impressive, because Argentina, very tough to get a result against, obviously. World champions, back-to-back Copa America champions, probably the best national team in the world. But Ecuador can hold their own. They absolutely can. They're the second best team in CONMEBOL right now, and I'm so excited to see them at the next World Cup. And if you didn't know about them before, you know about them now. Underrated, slept on, watch out for them, because I think, this is my early prediction, obviously we don't know the brackets yet, we don't know the run, because that changes everything, but I think the aim for this team is to get into that last 8. I think that is what they should be hoping for. Now, obviously, let's say in the round of 16 they get an unlucky draw and they draw Spain, and then they lose, right? You're not going to look at that as a failure, but I think now, before anything is laid out, before the cards are laid out, I think the aim for the Ecuadorian national team is to get to the quarterfinals at next year's World Cup, and I cannot wait for it. I cannot wait for it. They're one of my favourite national teams in the world. Thank you very much for watching till the end. Subscribe for more. I'd really appreciate it if you dropped a like on this video as well, and up the Ecuadorians. Come on.